Hi, all. My name is Joey. Welcome to the Practice Center, where we practice all things mindfulness, forgiveness, and attitudinal healing. And today I'm here to talk about one of my least favorite platitudes. And you'll probably hear me say that for every platitude that I record a video on. Time heals all wounds. Guys, I do not like this platitude at all. So I often hear it when somebody's going through a difficult time and we want them to kind of just let time pass, or we hear it in retrospect um, when I'm hosting like a workshop, right? And people come into it blind. There are some people who have known me for a long time. And so when they come into group with me, they know what to expect. But a lot of newbies, if they get just a flyer, they've never met me, they've never heard me speak, they've never been guided by me in any kind of workshop. And then all of a sudden understand that they're going to have to bring up a story, a grievance story, where they're going to actually do some work around. And this is when I hear this sentiment most often. Like, why would we want to drag up that old story? I'm over it. I'm done with it. And it's been 20 years, it's been 30 years, it's been 40 years, and time heals all wounds. So essentially, what people are trying to tell me is that they've gotten over it and that they don't need to drag it up. And by dragging it up, it's going to stir up old emotions. And I'm thinking, so if you've truly healed, then dragging it up shouldn't be triggering. It shouldn't be uncovering old wounds because the wounds would have healed. So I find that odd. What I think people mean is that there's been enough distance and I've been able to cover it up with other things: busyness, quiet rumination. So even if it's going through my mind, you guys see my blue nails? It's chipping. I love this color. So they've covered it up with other problems, other issues, more pressing current ones. They've shoved it down so far deep that it has the illusion of being healed, and yet there's probably something happening. So even if we think it's done, um, the research, especially Gabor Mate's research, but even the forgiveness research through Stanford University, talks about how repressed emotions show up as illnesses. So our heart is impacted, the immune system is impacted, our kidneys are like, there's a lot of like autoimmune diseases show up through repressed emotions. And so I'm thinking, oh boy, if people tell me time has healed all wounds, they're like, I'm not thinking about it anymore. And then they go on to list off all of the physical ailments that they're dealing with. I'm like, oh, let's please make this link. Let's please make this link and really heal for real. So, one, that you can get those physical ailments maybe under control a little bit, along with doctor's cares, et cetera, et cetera. But also, what I find it more insidious is that it's being passed on. That pain, that wound is being passed on to the next generation. This is what we're calling intergenerational trauma. So even though you think that you're not overtly passing it on, there's some ways that we are passing it on. Or it's showing up in negative interactions with the people that we love and care for in our lives, or we're silently beating ourselves up. So time does not heal all wounds. And in fact, time serves to fester and create those physical ailments. So it's going to come out somewhere. So what does heal wounds? What does heal wounds? Well, connections, being heard, grieving, telling your story, and then practicing the skills to undo those stories so that you get a new and different perspective. It's that excavating and then getting rid of that and then replacing it with meaning in your life. So if we think about the happiness trope, everybody's trying to be 10% happier, or everybody, 88% of people need to be 88% more happy. I've heard lots of things around happiness, but I really look at the breakdown of happiness about intention, attention, connection to people and purpose, and your ability to savor the moment. So if this wound has happened and you're noticing in your current life that you are lacking in connection to people and purpose, that you are always looking for ways to not get hurt again, and that you, because of that, you are unable to savor this moment, then, ooh, that wound has not been healed. So in excavating that wound, then there's more space that's created, this expansion that happens in your heart center, so that we can make more room for intending to live a certain kind of life, like living on purpose. And then the ability to pay attention, yeah, to the things that create meaning in your life. And then improving, because we're not spending so much of that tight energy not getting hurt, then we can spend some of that energy in meaningful connection to people, and then living out our purpose. And then the bumps in the road, we can savor them. Yeah, the good, the bad, the ugly, like the present moment, being present in this moment no matter what, with acceptance, and then ability to kind of savor that increases. That's how we know if the wounds of our past have been healed. But if we're tight, we're dealing with disease, or we're disconnected to our people and our purpose, then I would dare say that it doesn't matter if 60 years has gone by since that wound, that time isn't the factor in healing. All right, so what can you do? I invite you to kind of ponder this thought and really first just kind of notice yourself. And when I ask you about your old wounds, is there a resistance? Like, nope, I don't want to talk about it. Is there a tightness? Then let that serve as a clue and be curious. And then be willing to look at that. And maybe you will want support to look at that. So maybe that's a therapist or a counselor or a group or a trusted friend or family, but be willing to look at that and then get the support, practice the skills. So maybe reach out and figure out where you can learn some skills to better help you in dealing with those wounds. And then it is a day-to-day practice. So it's not glamorous. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go to therapy and it's going to be magically somebody else is going to help get rid of it. No, it's going to be work. And in that work, it'll feel messy. So the way that I describe my work, like to myself, is that if I'm trying something new, it's going to feel unfamiliar. It's going to feel like I don't know what I'm doing. It's going to feel wrong because I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't like not knowing what I'm doing. So the practice part is messy, but eventually it gets easier. Like anything, if we're practicing it, we're going to improve our skills. And then find some trusted people who are also doing some work so that you have like a support group around that. Maybe not a formal group, but maybe a formal support group. Yeah, so time is not the factor in healing wounds. You intentionally meaning to heal is what's going to jumpstart that. So thanks for listening once again, and I look forward to you coming back. It is helpful if you subscribe here, like the video, share it with some folks, so you guys can talk about other platitudes that we use with one another, and in an effort to live as a whole ass human being and not a platitudipus, let's have these conversations. All right, take care.